Hey man, is everything okay over at the city? I mean, why do you look so anxious? No, I'm anxious that the progress that certain departments have made could be halted, and just a little fearful of what an all-new council could bring. Plus, a new city manager, are they experienced? Are they not? All of that change is scary. I mean, well, it all can't be so bad. What are you excited about with the upcoming election? Well, not much, honestly. I mean, the slate is weak. Maybe I'm excited about new blood in the mix, new council members, people that have never been there before. As far as the mayor goes, maybe the two that have been on council before will lead us in the right direction. I don't know. Well, I mean, what do you think the city of Denton could do better? Hold the executive level positions to the same standard as middle management? Sometimes it feels like we're just workhorses and aren't respected. They could value staff more. They could fix fucking roads. Maybe not start a new project until you've finished another one. Well, you seem like you've got it figured out. What would you change? What about the culture at the city of Denton would you change? Well, for starters, the entire upper management of the city needs to be replaced. They don't value staff. They blame the past for everything. And to be honest, it's almost like we need to build it all again from the ground up. Okay, I can't keep talking about the city of Denton, honestly. It's boring. Anything else you want to say before we move on? Well, Denton used to be a place I was proud to work at. I felt like I was making a difference in my hometown. Now I just keep my head down until another opportunity pops up.
Okay, so we put out an anonymous survey for city staffers a few months ago leading up to this. And we actually have a unique opportunity here because we have two people that have been in the system before and two people from the outside of the system a little bit to speak to this specifically, and we'll broaden it out, of course. City staff morale for those that submitted, and I understand it's anecdotal, okay? But I've heard this enough, and also I've heard from other cities that if you want to work in city government, avoid Denton. Why is that, and were you to get in, what could you do about it? We did it, Chris.
As you get Mario coming in? Okay. And this is the 1 minute lightning round, is that right?
Lightning round, and then
Okay.
we'll actually get into it.
Over the last 4 or 5 years, look, we've seen it on the council that there's been a culture on the council that's kind of been divisive and dysfunctional. And you can't have that at that level and it not permeate down to the city manager's executive staff. I mean, you've got to be able to create a team and have teamwork. And when I was mayor from 14 to 20, we worked well with staff. Doesn't mean you didn't have disagreements, doesn't mean that you didn't have times where you had to really, state your case, but you were respectable, you were professional, and you spoke with integrity, and you tried to but we've got to change the culture. Now, I'm running, and I believe that I can do that day one, because I know most of the people there. I have a great working relationship with staff, because if you don't have staff supporting you, and I'm not saying agreeing with you, but on the same team, you've got some issues, some really difficult issues.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I think it was polite of Chris to say there's kind of been a problem on our current council.
He said it's not a brawl.
It's not a brawl. I'm ready to brawl on this question.
Honestly, we want an open conversation.
I'm ready to brawl on this question because our city staff is the heart of what makes Denton function. It is because of the work those people do every single day on behalf of all of us in this community. That's why we get to have Denton. It's those folks. And the notion that they feel unwelcome, unappreciated, unsupported, that they feel like there is no direction, that they feel bullied in their jobs is absolutely unacceptable from anyone in a leadership role in our city. Absolutely unacceptable. It's not kind of a problem. It is a huge problem, and it's a big part of why I decided to run for mayor. That we we have to put respect and appreciation for our staff first. That has to be a priority for our city council, and we have to appreciate the hierarchy that exists, that the council works for the people, and then the city manager works directly for us. We don't go and speak to individual staffers as elected officials.
Mr. Bryan?
You know, I'm going to pick up right from there. I really appreciate this topic, and I think one of the things that we need to be aware of is we absolutely, our bosses are the people, and it is our job to provide oversight. We have experts on staff, and they don't always necessarily grok or understand the will of the people. In fact, 2 or 3 of the other items that we were talking about is how are we losing track of silos? How are we this? How are we that? Where we're not communicating. So a fundamental role of the people and of the council is to make sure that there's two-way communication between city manager, staff. Now, one of the things that the councils that I've been a member of, for the most part, that they only communicate with the city manager's office. And so I think there's a real opportunity coming in with the new city manager to establish a new paradigm for expectations and set this tone and measured quality so that we set the kind of culture that we want at the city and yet still provide the oversight. I won't apologize for working for the people of Denton. And the last thing I'll say.
I got you off.
All right, you can cover
Well,
that.
you're right. We'll get into an open conversation here soon.
Well, I'm not getting that back.
So in campaigning, I have always tried to be clear that not only am I an open book to you, you are welcome to be an open book to me. And if I am on the dais in that mayor's seat, it doesn't end there. And that includes city staff. My whole life, I've been in service-oriented, frontline-facing roles, making not very much money. And I never want anyone to feel that because maybe they feel like they're the lowest rung on the ladder, that being able to have conversations and share ideas is something that's unattainable. As your mayor, I'm willing to listen to anyone, and that includes city staff, and that includes fostering and cultivating and encouraging city staff to be invested in the city that they're serving. And so, yeah, that's it.
That's great. And I think what was so tragic about the answers I got, and there were a lot more than were in the video, was the final one was something along the lines of, Denton used to be a place that I was proud to work for. Now I just keep my head down and wait for the next opportunity. That's, one would look at Denton, we're a college town, we're creative, we got beautiful arts, and yet we keep hearing this. And this is not a new issue. I mean, I know there with representative of the current council, there's an issue, but I don't want it to be all focused on Mr. Beck here, because we've been seeing this. I mean, heck, y'all have seen in Denton politics. Look at Dangerous Deb. You know, it's been getting more and more toxic and more slimy.
Old boys club.
Old boy.
It's been getting old boys club. It's been an old boys club for as long as I can remember, and it's time for something new. I go into so many spaces, and I've been going into them for the last 6 months, talking about leading this city in a different direction. And I talk to women business owners and solopreneurs, so women who are their only employee in their business over at Stoke. I'm a part of a women's networking group. I go to Pilates class. Everywhere I go, I hear people say, you know, Denton, it's just an old boys network. Like, it's the same thing, both in our business environment and in our political environment. I faced it head on last year. A year ago, a group of men in this community came to me and said, hey, Brian or Brandon's going to run for mayor. Will you run for whichever seat was left open that they abandoned to run for mayor? Will you do that? And I'm like, who decided they were going to run for mayor? Well, I found out a group of men, Brian and Brandon and Paul, decided that one of them was going to be our candidate for mayor. We have got an old boys club in this town that has got to come to an end. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. That's why I ran for mayor this year. That is the number one thing that drove me into this race. It absolutely devastates me that people from outside of my community will talk about my community as being an old boys club. That people can't that if you have a difference of an opinion, or if you're not a part of the Chamber of Commerce, or you don't have a buddy over on the city council, you can't ever be really integrated into the community and get anything done in the community. That's ridiculous. Like, this is a community of, like I've said before, like people with huge hearts and real interest in being involved and engaged and being present here. And we can't continue to manage our city with this old boys club culture. We've got to do something new. And I'm gonna ask Brian a really tough question. The rumor's been going around on Facebook. I asked him in a video the other day that there's been a complaint against you from a city staffer who said you came to her office and told her she should be ashamed of herself for coming and giving testimony against another one of your friends on the city council. You've yet to talk about it, and this news has been out there for a long time, Brian. Like, I don't know why you haven't answered it. I don't know why you haven't said it's true, not true, why it happened if it did happen. Like, I would really love to know.
I'll jump in here because obviously we're just going to
I asked
stare
you a
at me
question.
until.
Well, I did ask you a direct question, so it'd be a good time to jump in.
No, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I mostly give this no oxygen, and that is when someone accuses you of something that is false and defamatory, you initially say, "Hey, yeah, no, I'm not kicking kittens. That's not something that I do. So no, I don't kick kittens." So when someone continues to say, "Well, why are you kicking kittens? Why are you kicking kittens?" You don't give that any oxygen. You don't give that any air. You go, "Okay, this is not a thing that's happened." So the entire circumstances behind that are not real. That is not true. It's been looked into. Not only were the original allegations against the council member found to be without merit, and that council member was exonerated, and people were trusted, and they were looked at, and it was investigated by third-party folks, but that was found not to be true. I didn't even learn about that investigation until after the fact, and so I could not have been putting my thumb on the scale and bullying people and talking about that. So I am categorically denying that happened at all. It is defamatory to keep accusing me of an action that didn't happen. There was an accusation, and what do you do when someone throws mud at the wall? You say that's not true, you move on.
Can I?
Please, yeah, please, Chris. And also, we can take a breath.
Bullshit.
I guess I'm a little curious about some things. I'm aware of the situation that you're talking about, and I'm aware of some other situations, and I mean, I can go into that. I guess I'm also aware, Angela, that because I watched your video, and when you were talking about the meeting, I guess you were in with them, and I know one of your donors was there, and I don't know what happened in the meeting. I have no idea what was going on or what was going on and discussed. So I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but I've not really been wanting to say this, but because somebody sent me a Facebook post that you did about a year ago in January, that's one of the most divisive, intolerant posts. I'm not on Facebook that much, so I don't see that much. So I agree with you that we need to bring, I'm not going to necessarily go into that right now.
I don't want to get into anything.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that, so I agree that we have to bring a different culture to the council. We have to bring a different culture to the council. And I've been disappointed at the stories that honestly, I've been in the room. I don't know. I've been in the room when you have almost accosted the city manager about going back to her office. I mean, I was in there and watched. So all I'm saying is, when I get elected, when I was on council as mayor, we didn't have those problems. It didn't mean we didn't have disagreements, but we had to fire a city manager. I had to fire a city manager. I was the deciding vote because I knew we had to make a change. And then we hired another city manager. So I bring that experienced leadership that has got a track record. And when I'm elected day one, that culture changes because the people know me. The people know how I work. There's no guesswork. There's no trying to figure out what am I going to do, how am I going to treat people, how am I going to not include the community, but include the community. So, and the voters get to decide. The voters get to decide. And it has been disappointing that the culture that I've seen, because I hear the stories and I see the ramification of those stories, and it's been terrible. I mean, that's why staff is hard pressed sometimes to bring some things to council, because it's just been, and I've got to say, because I've done it before, there's some council members that have been elected in the last year or two that I'm excluding them from these comments because they don't bring that to the council. They bring something different. So I think we're on our way of changing that, but it has paralyzed governance for the last 5 years. I mean, not much has been done, and we see it in our increased taxes. We see it in our increased utilities. We see it in how we're trying to meet the needs of the homeless. It's just the proliferation of apartments. I hope you have
Chris,
a question about that.
I'm gonna cut you off here. 'Cause
Okay, that's fine. If we're
in
gonna talk about
monologue
that, I
zone.
wanna
And
talk
also,
about that.
if we could get the timer going there.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, it's been going.
My second grade teacher says I talk too much.
Yeah, well, she's right.
They usually
No, I
are in
appreciate
the
it.
second
No,
grade.
I'm good.
And if we could, I don't know, throw a time in there. Shannon, did you have anything?
Sure. I would just say that, like, right now, man, I really wish I wasn't, but across the table, I'm just hearing a lot of elitism and ego. And so maybe this isn't like the best parallel to make, but there's a song by a really famous woman that I really love. And in that song, she says, "When everyone believes you, what is that like? I'm so sick of running as fast as I can, wondering if I could get there quicker if I was a man." And I'm really upset right now because there's all these elitist cycles. It's not just men. It's not just men. There are women that are a part of these cycles too, these circles. And that's a problem, right? We get into these little circles and silos, and we lose the priority. We lose the priority, which is the vulnerable working people in Denton. And don't get me wrong, sexual harassment, sexual assault, that is never okay, and it should always be centered and trauma informed when addressed, and there should be solutions to these issues when they are reported to council. And that comes down to making sure that we have an adequate ethics ordinance in place. Amen. Which I am so shocked to not hear any of these people with political experience talk about. How are y'all not angry?
Yeah. Right.
How are you not angry?
Right. And not just an ethics ordinance in place. One of the problems we have is that if you're going to file an ethics complaint against a member of the city council, you have to publicize your name. You cannot do it anonymously. There needs to be a different method. We cannot expect people who are working hard for our city every day, who have to pay their mortgage, who need to put food on their table, to go and put their job on the line in order to point out the wrongdoing of someone in our city council. We can't expect them to do that. That is absolutely impossible, right? So there are systems, and there are a lot of cities that use it, where they have an ombudsman, right? You get an ombudsman who goes in and reviews the complaint. When they find validity to the complaint, they then file the complaint on behalf of the person who is being the whistleblower, so that the whistleblower's name doesn't have to be publicized. So it's a way to work within our current ethics program or project without having to change that. I know we worked really hard on that for a long time to get to our current set of ethics, but there isn't. So we don't have to alter that, right? We could get a workaround so that people who need to do whistleblowing have some protection from any kind of retribution that they might experience from members of the council.
And this is why, because the anonymous complaint that was made was the first one that was made an anonymous complaint against a council member. And there was no adequate process to deal with it. It went to the city auditor, who then made a finding that, no, you can't have this, you've got to file that complaint under the procedure of the ethics code, which then would require breaking anonymity. So it was flawed. I mean, we certainly have to find either an investigator or a law firm or something outside of the city. We can create that to specifically handle complaints against council members, because there was no way to do it. And the way that it was handled was just kind of, so it wasn't, the complaint wasn't dismissed because it was unfounded. The language was, it was abandoned because the person who made the complaint, the anonymous person who made the complaint, was not willing to file it under the rubrics of the ethics code, because they weren't going to do it. So it wasn't that it was it was abandoned is what the language was. And that's when we realized you've got to have a separate procedure to do that. You've got to take it outside of the city. Now, one person said to me, well, that's going to cost a lot of money. Who cares? I mean, if someone's making a complaint, because let's face it, as a council member, we have power. We intimidate. I mean, you can't go into somebody's office and talk to them like that. You can't abuse people in front of their subordinates. So it was an unfortunate situation, and we had no way adequately to deal with it. And it's unfortunate that we didn't. And because we just thought all people are subject to this ethics code, and it was the component of the anonymous complaint. Because anybody can file a complaint under the ethics code. It's when you file it anonymously, you have to maintain that anonymity. You cannot expect to have investigations without, having people reveal who they are. I mean, that creates that even makes it worse. That power imbalance even just gets exacerbated. So certainly, as mayor, that is one of my main issues. Is we have to find an alternative methodology that means going outside. The fox can't guard the hen house. I mean, you can't do that. So
are there, forgive my ignorance, because I don't look too much into other cities' specific policies regarding this, but I'm sure in businesses, I'm sure in other cities and other places, there are other ways of doing it. Mm-hmm. So why?
Why do we not have it?
Is it the good old boys club? I mean, we're growing so quickly.
I think the ladies at the table might disagree with you that it's not the good old boys.
Well, kind of like you said, regardless of good old boys club or not, we're growing so rapidly as well that there might be just these issues that come up that we haven't figured out.
We're not
yet.
A small little college town
not anymore.
We have to stop acting like one. That we have serious business to do in our city, and we need a new direction in order to do that. It's time to clear house. It is time to clear house. That the way we've been doing business in the city for 20 years is done. I mean, it really is this system of who do you know, that Chris says he can walk in on day one and be buddies with everybody because he knows everybody. He's already well connected, and I can walk right in and they know exactly what they're getting. Mm-hmm. That isn't the best way to do things. Mm-hmm. We should actually create new relationships where we're all starting on even ground, right? Coming together to create the future for the city that we want, not coming with the residue of past coming forward. We've got to change things.
So the ethics code was created by a charter review committee. They said, hey, let's do that. And then the ethics code was created by community input and also the council. So, I mean, look, we can go into all this about good old boys and all that. Sure. That's okay.
I'm just curious about how it was actually created.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, there was a charter committee that people were appointed by the council. You were appointed to the charter review committee just last a couple of summers ago. Brian appointed you.
See,
so
we're all a happy family.
No, it's just. I mean,
those were some fun meetings.
So
I forgot to thank you for that, Brian.
I will not defend myself to say that when I know people professionally and we treat each other with respect and we know what we can expect and we know that I'm going to come in. So if they want someone new that they don't know to create new relationships, that's fine. But to say that somehow it's a good old boy network because we've worked hard to establish good relationships, good working relationships with people. And I've been doing that with an organization that has 2,000 employees. So, I mean, you can interpret it as you want, but we have to have a different, I'm going to come back to the original point. We have to have a methodology to handle anonymous complaints with council members.
I need to jump off right here too, because the anonymous process that we have right now, the Lighthouse software process, anyone in the entire city can make that complaint. Could be staff, could be council, could be political appointees, whoever. Anyone on council or anyone in the city operations can make any sort of complaint they want. All right, and so one of the things that comes in is things can be weaponized over and over and over, regardless of merit, regardless of standing, regardless of facts. There is a culture on council of one person. I'm just going to say it here. The rest of council gets along. Jesse Davis and I got along. Joe Holland and I get along. Jill Jester and I get along. Paul Meltzer and I got along. But there is a history of folks that don't get along, and it's absolutely true that does tend to taint the process. For sure. All right. So we just had a forum the other day where I said one of my favorite parts on council is the dinner between the work session and the evening, because we just bond together as fellow people trying to serve our city, and those people get along. All right, every single one of those people get along. So there is, unfortunately, there's been 6 years, and even to a little bit, I'm sorry, Chris, but even a little bit before then, there's times. One of the reasons I ran is I watched the way that the council under your control managed Deb Armentor, Keely Briggs, and Paul Meltzer. It wasn't done respectfully. And there were times then the meeting had to pause. All right, and so it's really important that we bring a culture of listening to the community and not shutting people down. I absolutely concur with that. And you can make astonished faces all you want to, but when those same elements in the society turn around and then say, "Oh, I'm going to weaponize this to make complaints, specious ones, because I already know how it's done," then that's what you run into.
Brian, with all due respect, I mean,
is this a bless your heart? All due respect.
I don't know, but okay. I mean.
And we are out of time, so I'll let you finish, or you can. Okay.
Okay.
We got a commercial break in front of us.
For all I know is when you say everybody gets along, you were screaming at Jesse Davis and I after a closed session, a legal closed session item, and so when you made that statement in that forum, when you said everybody gets along, I don't know if you were looking out among the audience, but the look on people's faces was just utter disbelief. So, I really beg to differ with you on that, but I'm out of time.
You're out of time, and it is a little unfair to throw that last jab in, I'll say that. But we do have a 90-second commercial break ahead of us, and then we will get into a fun mini game, guys. We'll get back to fun.